What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is enjoying good weather where you are. If not, hopefully it improves for you soon. And I know there's a lot of places that right now you're wishing, I wish the temperature was turned down, especially here in the midsections where you're not getting Harold down here and you have the ring of fire over top of you, and underneath that it is extremely hot. So let's first talk about here. As you can see on satellite, we still have what was Tropical Storm Harold. It's now not tropical anymore. It's post-Tropical Storm Harold, I think is what it's being called now. It's down to a depression, actually, but it's still producing some heavy rainfall across portions of Texas. And you can see here, in extreme southwest Texas, there actually is some flash flooding that's ongoing. And this is well-needed rainfall for these areas. They have been under a drought for some time, and I can show you that. You can see here, it's been extremely dry in Texas. So any rainfall you get, take it, enjoy it. And we can actually take a look here at some rainfall totals so far, and we can see here, that's not it. We can actually see here that storm total accumulation. You can see here anywhere on the orders in these purples and these blues, and even some higher colors starting to pop up. Anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rain have fallen from Corpus Christi through Orange Grove back on northwest. So you can see here, this was some relatively beneficial rainfall for this area, which was very much so needed. That system is going to wind down. It's going to continue west. Then we have to watch this ring of fire. You can see there's moisture in the west coast that is moving up to the north. Then you have this guy right here. It's going to start to get us into trouble tomorrow evening. I would say through Friday, maybe even first thing Saturday. What's going to happen is you're going to have yet again, we've seen this time and time again this summer, a northwest to southeast flow event. So in other words, you're going to have a disturbance that forms along a boundary. It's going to ride southeastward, and there's going to be moisture along this. Remember, we saw this many of times in Kentucky. This time we're looking at the Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, maybe even portions of New York, and there could be thunderstorms with this, and there could be a flash flood threat. We'll have to see how it evolves. Let's take a look at air quality values for today, and you'll see some ever so slight improvement in the air quality values up here in the northwest. You can see the fires are still ongoing. In Washington, they're slightly better today, but you can see, there's still this corridor from Northern California through Oregon into eastern Washington and Idaho, and right on up into Canada where you have bad air quality. Then you have some generally just not extremely bad, but just poor air quality in the east, generally east of the Mississippi. Large areas, Indiana, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Illinois, Wisconsin, I mean just larger, even up into Virginia, where you just have generally poor air qualities today. If you're asthma, allergy sufferer, not a good day to be outside. Same deal with the Pacific Northwest, aside from the coastal areas, which are not doing too bad with the air quality. Then you have this story today. You have the heat, which is continuing to be on, going in the plains, right on up through Chicago and the Midwest. Extremely dangerous heat. High temperatures around 100. Dew points near 80. I've seen some places that have been reporting dew points over 80 degrees yet again. So this is a concerning situation, and it's not something that is good at all. You can see we still do have some flood watches up in the southwest portions of Texas. Still some flooding concerns in the Pacific Northwest, which quite frankly, you do need the rain. So that's not actually the worst thing in the world, but it could be too much rain at one time. Let's take a look at radar. You can see here, here's what's left of Harold down in the south. There's not much left to it. Then you can see here at Salt Lake City, Utah, just east of Las Vegas and Nevada, still some showers ongoing here. That's the moisture flow lifting northward along the ring of fire. You can see here up here in Washington, Idaho, and Oregon, some showers for you, beneficial showers, and there's actually a system just to the west of Seattle that's getting ready to come on shore. That's going to provide some rain for you tonight. And then we look up here around Lake Superior. See this flow from northwest to southeast? That's the beginning stages of what is going to set up a boundary along here through Pennsylvania and New York State. And there's going to be multiple waves along this boundary. More on that in a little bit. Now we have to take a look at the severe weather convective outlooks, and I'll show you the next 3 days. You can see we do have a marginal risk out here in the Rockies for today, and a marginal risk across portions of Michigan. Day 2, there's also a marginal risk, one in the Great Northern Plains, and again into Minnesota, then along the Great Lakes. And look at day 3, another bigger marginal risk. This could actually go slight risk from Illinois and Iowa, Wisconsin, straight on through to Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania. That we will have to watch. And again, more on this in just a bit. Slight risk today of excessive rainfall out west. Slight risk down in Texas. Day 2, you can see we do have a slight risk again from like El Paso, Texas into New Mexico. Marginal up into Arizona. Marginal across Pennsylvania. And day 3, we do see there's a marginal across portions of the Northeast. That could get upgraded to a slight risk. There is a slight risk in portions of Utah on day 3, which I believe would be Thursday. Now let's take a look at what's left of Harold. Harold's just not much. Tropical depression. 35-mile-per-hour winds. Moving really quickly, west-northwest at 21 miles per hour. There really isn't much left to Harold. But then we take a look at the wider picture. And you can see here, there's a lot going on. Let's take a look at the 7-day graphical outlook. Gert, there's not much left to Gert. It's a post-tropical system. The map, the track for it, it's going to sit there and do some loops. It's not expected to redevelop, but it's still going to be there just as a weak system. Then we have this invest out here, which is at 40%. Then we have another one, which is up here at 20%. Then we have Franklin. You've been hearing me talk about Franklin a bit lately. Let's go over the latest numbers for Franklin. Franklin is expected to bring some big-time flooding to Hispaniola. Currently only has 40-mile-per-hour winds. Minimum pressure is 1002 millibars, 1002 millibars. It's moving northwest now at 7 miles per hour. It did briefly stall out last night. Now it's turned a little bit to the northwest like it was expected to do. And it's going to go over Hispaniola as a tropical storm and eventually come off of Hispaniola finally later this week. And as we head into the weekend, it's going to be back over the waters, and it is expected to redevelop somewhat. Could it still be a threat to Bermuda down the road? Yes. Is it a threat to the U.S.? Not as likely now. Still watching it. Not as likely, but you got to remember here, we're now talking 2 p.m. Sunday where it's expected to be a hurricane again. This is what's called the cone of uncertainty because it's just that. It could veer off to the right a little more. It could veer off to the left a little bit more. Let's take a look at some tropical plot here. And I will show you, here is for Harold. This is the global hurricane models plus ensembles. There's pretty good agreement that it's going to reemerge once it gets past Hispaniola, after it provides some rain to the Dominican Republic and all those areas. And it's going to come out here, and you can see the track. They're in pretty good agreement now that the track, it's going to come up here. Bermuda's like over here. It's going to miss Bermuda, but here is the United States. You don't see any that are like coming and then making that turn over towards the United States. I'm not ruling it out, but right now it is less likely that that's going to happen. And at the moment, it's less likely to hit Bermuda. I would pay more attention to Bermuda than the United States at this point, but I'm not giving either the all clear just yet. Let's wait a few more days and watch what happens here. I want to show you now. Let's take a look at the European model, and let's move this. Let's go out to the North Atlantic with the European model. Here's what the Euro does. The Euro takes it over Hispaniola, and then it comes back. And here it comes. It does start to deepen. It does become a hurricane. You can see over the weekend, this is definitely a hurricane. And as we're heading into early next week, that's maybe a Category 2 hurricane. And you can see here, here's Bermuda right here. Here's the United States. The only thing it does for the United States at this point, based on the latest European models, 12Z run, is providing increased waves there and increased waves for Bermuda as well. But one thing we do have to watch. Here's Nova Scotia right here. Here is Maine right here. Gonna have to keep a watch. Could it get close enough to cause issues for any of these areas? It's possible we could see this track just a little bit more west, and then suddenly you're looking at a hurricane hitting Nova Scotia. And you know what? I'm not ruling out Maine as well. But down here, like south of there, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, Right now, it is looking less likely for an impact for you, but Nova Scotia, really, you should be keeping an eye on this because look at this, 186 hours out. That is well within the time frame where we can see changes with a storm system like this. And take a look at the European here. That is definitely probably a strong Category 2 hurricane at that point at 965 millibars. We can even take a look at a little bit of wind action here, and you can see here, yes, that's relatively an impressive system at this point. So it's something we'll keep an eye on. There's a lot of different models. The other thing we're keeping an eye on that I was telling you about earlier here in the video, look at this. You can see here, here's Wednesday morning. Here's that shower and thunderstorm activity over the Great Lakes. Watch what happens. You can see this boundary sets up. It comes down across Pennsylvania. And you can see here, there's round one. So Ohio Valley, you get some showers, thunderstorms, maybe some heavy rainfall. Watch what happens tomorrow night. Look at this. You get some training showers and thunderstorms across Lake Erie into Pennsylvania. That's something we're going to watch. That's one wave. Then watch what happens directly behind it. This low starts to form. More showers and thunderstorms. Maybe even some severe thunderstorms. And if there's some shear that would set up with this, we could potentially be talking about Thursday evening. Maybe an isolated tornado threat on top of a flash flooding threat. I am really sold that this is going to be a relatively interesting flood threat. This is something we'll have to look at high resolution modeling as we get closer because look at this. I mean, this is the NAM. I'm going to zoom this in. This is the NAM here. You can see here. Now, there's multiple waves with this, but the NAM is showing localized 5-inch amounts. I'm paying attention here because the models in general have really been all over this. GFS, it's not really a model that's good for this type activity. Let's take a look at the 12Z RGEM model. Here's the 18Z run, which is coming in right now. Here's the 12Z RGEM model. Relatively similar. You can see here, you have a large 2+ inch area in northwest Pennsylvania. I would keep an eye on this. I think there's going to be a flash flooding threat starting on Thursday into Friday, and it's going to come in multiple waves. And again, with that second wave, let's go back to the NAM. With that second wave, as you saw here, let's backtrack this. Look at this. You can see there's an area of low pressure over New York State with widespread shower and thunderstorm activity. Directly under that low, there could be somewhat of a tornado threat, which is again why I do think Thursday we'll see a slight risk for severe weather here, and we'll definitely see a slight risk for excessive rainfall. All right, let's go back to the national picture. Let's take a look at temperatures on the GFS. And we do want to take a look at temperatures going forward. Look in the plains. What can I tell you? It's going to continue to be hot for several days. But we know, as we head into the weekend, it's going to shift south a little bit. Not much, but just enough that it's not going to be as hot. You're not going to be talking like Nebraska this weekend. Hundreds. No, you'll still be dealing with 90s, but 100s, no. Unfortunately, what is going to happen, it is eventually going to reload. You can see now we're starting to come towards Wednesday, and look what happens. Pushes back west, pumps back north again. This ring of fire, it may get going again. And look at this. Later next week, we're talking very hot conditions. Even up near Chicago, near 100 degrees. And at that point, you're talking September 1st. And we're still talking a dome of hundreds. Look at this. You have 113 degrees being advertised in Nebraska on the GFS in September. That is extreme, my friends. All right, moving on. We don't need to take a look at the drought. We did that already. You can see here, with that ring of fire in the Four Corners region, relatively wet, and you can see now, starting to trend wetter in the northeast, just through to the weekend, because we have that system that is going to be bringing showers and thunderstorms from the Great Lakes, and even up into New England. Then beyond that time frame, it's not going to be as wet, and you can see in between, where it's really hot, not all that active. You do see, though, in the southeast, it is going to be relatively wet, and I do agree with that. The Pacific Northwest, the only precipitation you're getting in Washington is from that system that's coming on shore the next 1 through 7 days. Hardly even a drop of rain in California. And let's run through the 6 to 10 day temperature average. Below average in the Northeast. Slightly below average through Illinois being advertised here. And I'm not I think that's a little bit overdone. I just show you the GFS. The heat's going to build there again. You can see here well above average in the North Plains, across the Rockies, down in the deep south, 8 to 14 days. Now this we agree with. That dome of heat, it's just going to be there. It may be there for a prolonged period of time after your brief break this weekend. Near normal in the Northeast, slightly above average in the West, above average in Texas and the South. And let's talk precipitation. You're just back to near normal in Texas. Enjoy whatever rain you get today from Harold. You're not getting much after this. Slightly above average in the southeast. You saw days 1 through 7. It's going to be relatively wet there. Below average for places like Chicago, St. Louis. Slightly below average in the northeast, except for the coastal region. Right along 95 could be slightly above average. Slightly above average in the Pacific Northwest. I think this may be a little bit overdone, but we'll have to see. The weather predictions, or the climate prediction center, does use ensembles to make this forecast. So maybe the ensembles are saying, hey, maybe it's going to be wetter there. Four Corners region, slightly above average. 8 to 14 days. Slightly above average in the west. Below average in the middle region, Great Lakes, Midwest. Slightly above average in the southeast. And near normal in the northeast. I don't think it's going to be all that wet of a pattern in the northeast after this week, but we'll have to watch. Again, that ring of fire, because that heat dome being underneath, that ring of fire could get going again. So perhaps we see another event like what we're seeing late this week, set up sometime late next week. Too soon to say. Check back on the next climate update, because that does it for today's climate update. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. You know, we do shorts. We did a short on Harold earlier today. We'll probably do some shorts on Franklin as it evolves. We'll have more climate updates, more tropical updates. Maybe we'll do an international climate update with just news. I don't know. But if you like the content you see, subscribe to my channel down below. Share this with your friends, family, whoever needs to see it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all again next time. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe, everyone.